Here.
Councilmember Jose Quijada.
Present.
Interim City Manager Jermaine Watson.
Present.
City Attorney Juan Pablo Flores.
Present.
City Treasurer Luis Pedrosa.
Present.
Thank you, Mr. Aguilar. The purpose of the public hearing is to allow public participation and to listen to comments regarding final adoption of the annual budget for fiscal year 2019-2020. There is a request for Dr. Gomez.
Sir, I'm going to fast and hear what the council has to say. Is that all right?
There is no particular item on the agenda. The purpose of the public hearing is to allow participation from you with any comments regarding the final adoption of the budget.
You know, my concern about what you want to put in the budget, and I think I was wanting to see what you all had to say. But I've been a businessman for 42 years, and I had my ups and downs like the city has. And what happens is when you have a down, you don't get supplies 6 months ahead. We only get supplies 1 month or two, and look for sales and being innovative on how we can keep our cash flow going. It doesn't seem to be like anybody thinks of being innovative on the budget and say, well, there are other cities that had a compression kind of. They said, one mayor by Tempe said, we're all going to take a 10% rate deduction on our salaries this year, and we'll see how things work out if the economy improves or not. I can't, and in fact, they did it at the county too, because I got that idea from supervisor up in West Teresa. So I just wonder if we've been innovative enough to say we're going to cut the fat and see if we can balance our budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments here from council? Hearing none, moving on to adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Mayor, move to adjourn.
Motion by Councilmember Tejada. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Tejada, second by Councilmember Soto. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.
Nobody else wanted to talk?
I'd like to call this meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Roberto Rivera.
Present.
Councilmember Barbara Morales. Present. Councilmember Mitch Lindemann.
Present.
Councilmember Donald Hewitt.
Here.
Councilmember Ray Shelton.
Present.
Councilmember Cesar Soto.
Here.
Councilmember Jose Quijada.
Present.
Interim City Manager Jermaine Watson.
Present.
City Attorney Juan Pablo Flores.
Present.
City Treasurer Luis Pedrosa.
Present.
Thank you. Item number 3, discussion decision on approval of second reading of ordinance number 19-1110, an ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, amending the Douglas Municipal Code, Chapter 512, Cable Communications Code, definitions, cable services / television license, encroachment, and other uses in the public right-of-way to comply with Arizona state law requiring the use of a uniform video service license agreement effective July 1st, 2019, establishing severability of components and establishing an effective date thereof. And for the background, in this item we have Mr. Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. As noted on the agenda memo, this particular ordinance will add uniformity around the state regarding the cable licenses. It was the intent of the legislature that all fees and application fees and license fees conform. And this was an effort on the legislature's part to make sure the cities were not charging additional application fees in excess of the legally mandated franchise fee. So there isn't going to be any modifications per se fiscally to the city's franchise fee with costs, but it will allow us to be in compliance with the regulations as requested by the state statute.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Hewish.
Move that the mayor and council approve the second reading of ordinance number 19-1110 and to place it on third reading by number and title only.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Hewish, second by Councilmember Morales. Any discussions from council? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilmember Morales?
Yes.
Councilmember Benjamin?
Yes.
Councilmember Hewish?
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Tejada?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Motion carries.
In order to the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, amending Douglas Municipal Code Chapter 5.12, Cable Communications Code Definition, cable services / television license, encroachment, and abuse in the public right of way to comply with Arizona state law, requiring the use of a uniform video service license agreement effective July 1, 2019, establishing severability of components of ordinance, and establishing an effective date thereof.
Item number 4, discussion decision on approval of resolution number 19-1349, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, adopting the city of Douglas budget for fiscal year 2019-2020. And for that item, we have Mr. Finance Director, Mr. Mendoza. Welcome back to live action, Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So as state law requires, we are presenting for you the final adoption of the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. We set the ceiling in the prior budget as set for in the tentative adoption. Setting the final budget is a ARS or state statute requirement. As you know, we presented the budget. We know the items included. As far as operating revenues, we are at $36,704,000, $40,442,000 in expenditures. The difference of those revenues and expenditures are to be made up with various transfers, fund balance use, and for various different capital projects. We also inform you that we have not received final state shared revenue numbers, and that was our biggest pending item. And actually, what we feared came about in that state shared revenue numbers came down. Our population calculation from the census went down from 16,165 to 15,978. So therefore, our state shared revenue calculations, which is based on population, decreased by 152,000. So we definitely needed to get those, find that within the budget. We proposed 4 different items to be able to bridge that gap of 152,000. The first one was the savings that the mayor and council had voted to hire the deputy city manager with economic development background, replacing that position, and the bed tax increase, and remaining the tourism specialist as part-time. That brings about a savings of $74,423. We budgeted to drop participants in the lower position instead of the position held. meaning that officers that are entering the drop, more tenured officers, we will be budgeting at a lower amount because those replacements coming in will be coming in at a lower salary. The fire promotions finalized and able to budget correctly for lower positions. We were able to budget accordingly to those fire promotions and bring about a savings of $22,611. We also needed to move the certification pay, moving that effective January as opposed to October as originally proposed. That would save $18,748. Basically, that gets us our number and plus $7,106, which we basically just put it into the reserve line item for us to save that money. Those were the changes.
Sorry, how much was it on the line item that you put back in the reserve that you just said?
Within the reserve line item,
Yeah.
we had
Sorry.
around 43,000 there.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. Thank you.
That's it. Any questions? We'll be glad to answer.
So let's, prior to jumping into questions from Mr. Mendoza, let's place that motion on the floor. So I ask for a motion to approve the resolution. May I have a motion to approve?
Mayor,
Ms. Lindemann?
I move that the mayor and council approve resolution number 19-1349.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lindemann, second by Councilmember Soto. Council members,
Mayor,
Mr. Lindemann.
I also would like to offer an amendment to this budget that we have.
Okay.
I move that the mayor and council amend the budget by reallocating up to $15,000 from one or a combination of various viable sources to include the Metal Arts Wall Fund, one-time revenues realized throughout the year, or from savings of the approved CIP for the purchase and installation of a statue of Raul H. Castro to be placed at Castro Park.
Is there a second for the motion on the floor from Mr. Lindemann?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Grijalva. So I have a motion by Councilmember Lindemann with an amended motion, and it was seconded by Councilmember Grijalva. So, Mrs. Aguilar, do you prefer for us to go on your original motion, or do you want us to move forward with what's on the floor currently?
Mr. Mayor, if you will allow discussion by the council first.
Apologies.
And after the discussion, you can address the amendment first.
Terrific. So we're having a discussion on the first actual item, correct?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any question from council to Mr. Mendoza?
So I just have a question. So on the 74,000 here, to clarify, the tourism specialist full-time salary, so we're keeping the position at a part-time?
That's correct.
Okay.
Until January, or for the rest of the
Based on the motion made in last meeting, it was to remain part-time, as it is right now.
And that position, I mean, it's dependent on the increase, right? That's the new money coming in.
The tourism position, it was originally, but the way that the motions were made and the monies were reallocated, that position is no longer being funded.
So it's completely gone.
As of right now, it's not funded in the budget. It's not completely gone. It's half-time funded.
Got it. Any other questions?
And this, the statute is going, I mean, it's gonna come from what the motion was, from different departments, so, and also in basically from a surplus, right? We're not going to be spending more money than we have for this.
That's correct. We can't. We've already set the limit of the expenditures when you adopted the tentative budget.
Mr. Hiroshi, did you have questions?
Yes, I do. First of all, I appreciate Mr. Lindeman's motion, but I think we're at a point in time in our life in the city that we need to get back to the I don't want to say bare bones, but the basics of providing services that are needed. And as much as I respect and honor the great son of Douglas, Raul Castro, I'm not sure this is the appropriate time as far as our financial condition goes in the city to be able to do that. As much as I'd like to do that, I'd love to see if there's any donations out there that can make that happen outside the budget. The other thing is he mentions the metal art project, and I just had a question on that. I didn't notice it in the budget. I went back and looked. It's there, so it's on my shoulders that I didn't notice it the first time. Is that the same thing that we received that presentation on from those artists that were, one was here, one was over the phone? Is that type?
No,
That's
this
a
is
different
actually
thing?
this is part of the downtown revitalization. It'll come forward as part of that project. The reason it was separated is because we had several on council who were interested in having something at the entry to the city that would also showcase our civic groups like Kiwanis and Logos and all that. So it's going to be tied in. You'll have a presentation of the downtown redevelopment plan. It'll be tied into that. It was only specifically called out because it had also an additional purpose to the downtown redevelopment, but also to showcase our civics group.
Okay. I appreciate that clarification. I wasn't sure. The other thing, if I may, Mayor, absolutely, Mr. Hughes, is I think we didn't have, and it's our fault. I mean, I know we met together and developed a strategic plan, but I also, the prioritization of that plan, we did it, but as it relates to the budget, I think we missed a little bit when we didn't sit down and prioritize. What I mean by that is that if we were looking at increasing sales tax by 0.25%, half, 3/4, full, 1%, I think we could have done a better job of marking out these are our priorities of what we'd like to do. And depending on where we wanted to go with the sales tax, then we draw a line, of course, on how far that took us to go. And I just mentioned that after the fact, and I think it's a learning experience to do that. I would hope, irregardless, that as we go through the year, that we still, when things come up, that we still prioritize and we still revisit to make sure that the need is actually there. And I think the benchmark that we use in the community, at least this time, is the quality of life, and that's kind of what I kept getting back as far as the sales tax increase and the budget. If you can show me how it's going to help the quality of life, how it's going to help some of our federal employees have a more desire to live here, then I'm sure people would be more in favor of that. And I think we could do a better job at showing that. And it boils down to, unfortunately, the confidence level in the council right now is not the highest that it's ever been. And so I think we could do a better job of showing how these things will benefit our community. And so I think that's why I think people are a little hesitant about this budget and tax increase overall. And so I just wanted to offer that. But I also wanted to say, Mayor, that I appreciate the staff working so hard in coming up with these various options that they've given us. It takes a lot of time and effort to do that. Again, I'd love to see them ranked 1 to 100, and if we can only afford the first 12, then that's where we stop, kind of thing. Because then next year, hopefully, we can afford 13 through 50, kind of stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yosh.
I just had a quick question. So on this 15,000 that you're trying to allocate for this metal arts project, is that set in stone? Is that what's actually going to cost us, or is that just an estimate, or?
No, that's just an estimate. Was it 15 or 12 that was in the
12.
It was 12 actually in the budget. So it was just based on just general knowledge of what those kinds of art pieces might cost.
And is that something that has to be done like right away in this budget year? Is it something that can be put off till next year?
Yes, if the council chooses that, it's just put out there because there were several on council interested in that. And so that we made sure it didn't get lost in the downtown redevelopment, we called it out as unique.
It just seems like a lot of money to spend when we have other things that it could be spent on.
Yes, and it's the ceiling. So if, we go out for an RFQ, and somebody comes in at 8,000, we would only, seek council's approval for that. We're only putting some placeholder in the budget for you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I do want to share several things. First of all, I think that Ms. Watson, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but your recommendations as far as the art project is concerned was based also on the strategic plan that was in place back for G Avenue. Is that?
It is and it isn't. I mean, there was general information about, and you're going to get a presentation on the downtown revitalization element. And so again, you all have plenty of time to shape how much and what we use. That's simply a ceiling that's on there. So there'll be ideas and different designs brought forward to you, so nothing's locked in stone. Right now, we're just talking about, here's a pot of money that we're setting aside for the purposes of downtown beautification and revitalization. So it's just a piece of that, and you can certainly change to the lower amount.
Do you know when was the last time that we actually modeled what was recommended on that actual plan?
The Council of 2011 adopted the downtown revitalization plan, but nothing that we could find as far as council action took it further than the adoption. So that's why we have the county planner who's on contract to us coming to show you what was in that plan. And also I think there was a 2008 plan from the University of Planning group that also brought forward ideas. So she'll be presenting on that. And then you can talk about more specifics of the kind of streetscape you want in that.
So this is the first time that with this current budget, we're going to actually, what we paid for back in 2008, 2011, we're actually going to put in motion with this particular budget.
Yes, we'll start down that road. It'll be in phases. We won't be able to get it all done in one fiscal year because it'll take time to design, but we're looking for your guidance on the elements you want in that plan to come forward first, and so that's what she's going to be presenting on the downtown revitalization.
Terrific. I need some clarification on that. And Mr. Mendoza, your team has done an incredible job. On behalf of council, I applaud you for bringing forward these recommendations. I also want to thank Adam Brake and the rest of the Finance Committee for putting together a thoughtful solution to the 10-year, headache that you've been having to put together to keep this city afloat. So I'm very grateful for your leadership. In any conversation that you bring up the word taxes or tax, it's uncomfortable. And unfortunately, this is something that we're having a discussion about. And I feel that based on the recommendation put together by the Finance Committee, along with members on that committee and along with your team, is the most, it's the best direction that we ought to take. So I thank you for your leadership along with your team, and I just wanted to express my gratitude for the work that you've been doing throughout your tenure here, Mr. Mendoza. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the council for the support of this budget, and I'm sure the staff would also say the same as far as your support for staff this year in this budget, your support for the community. So thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to say a few words about my amendment, if I may. my fellow colleagues, if not now, when? We've been waiting for a long time to honor Mr. Castro. I believe that this is something that wouldn't be that big of a deal, but yet we reap the benefits, not only to honor our most famous son, but to also create more of a destination. This is where Douglas puts forth their best foot. If you go to Tucson, they've got statues, Bob Aquino, all the time. I just went up north. Every town in the Midwest has a statue memorializing something that they're known for. And I thought that this would be a very good idea. And not only do we have this here and the opportunity to honor a great man, but yet, if we be bold, it will reap the benefits of more tourism. And of course, my basic instinct is it's for us. It's for us. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just as a point of guidance for council, once the discussion is complete, we will vote on the amendment first.
Okay.
If there are any other amendments, that's going to be the time after we finish with Mr. Lindeman's amendment. If anybody else has an amendment, that will be the time to introduce it before we vote on the main motion.
So right now is the time to make any amendment that anyone wants to make.
After the vote.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could also comment on Mr. Lindeman's. I meet with the G Avenue merchants, and Jeannie Jordan has been working very hard on her tourism. This would help out her and bring attention to the city. They're working on their own, trying to get their own money for plaques, so they can meet, in certain places for their tours. This would help out their mission. It wouldn't come from, their fundraising or however they're going to do it. So, to Mr. Lindeman's point, it would not only help us, so we could get an identity here in Douglas, but it would also help the tourism and make their job easier if we can give them a destination to go to.
Very good. Any other comments?
If I may, Mayor, just a point of clarification of someone, I know Mr. Lindeman mentioned in his amendment, taking the money from a specific area. Does that tie us to that, based on his motion?
That would be correct, Mr. Hewish. It would tie you to those various things noted in the motion. If you care to reiterate those, Mr. Lindeman, I think we had the metal art.
Mr. Hewish, thank you, Mr. Woodard. My motion was from various viable sources to include the metal art wall fund, one-time revenues realized throughout the year, and the savings from the CIP, and again, various areas that we could draw from. Thank you.
So again, the question is that, so the metal art at the entrance to the town somewhere promoting Douglas would be taken off because if this amendment motion passes, is the question.
Mr. Hewish, members of council, to clarify, basically, Mr. Lindeman gave us three things here. We have a steel wall art that could be reduced. Additionally, the CIP savings would be used to contribute to that, and one-time income revenues that would come in through the year. So, to answer your question, it could make the art, the metal art go away, but I believe administration is going to gather funds from various pools to make sure that all of those projects get completed.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move now to the motion, to the amendment on the roll call.
Yes.
Okay, so roll call.
Councilmember Tejada?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton?
Yes.
Councilmember Hewish?
No.
Councilmember Lindeman?
Yes.
Councilmember Morales?
No.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, motion carries. So now we have the original motion on the floor, correct?
No, Mr. Mayor, as a point of order, if you have any other amendments, you can provide an opportunity for any other council members. If not, at that point, you can move forward and have the roll call on the main motion.
Perfect.
I have a really,
You do, okay, Mr. Shelton.
I move to reconsider funding the tourism specialist by amending the budget to fund the position at a full-time status starting November 1st, 2019, to be funded from the recently realized $10,000 workers' compensation insurance quote savings and hiring on or after November 2019.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Shelton, second by Councilmember Grijalva. Any discussion?
I have a question on the savings portion that was mentioned.
Mr. Lindeman?
Where is that coming from? What savings? Is that part of the budget?
Yes, so Mr. Lindeman, so we got our review for workers' comp recently after the tentative adoption, and it came back with $10,000 less of our original estimate.
Okay, thank you.
Question, Shelton?
Will that be enough to cover, to make that position full-time, 10,000?
Mr. Soto, actually, it's about $2,000 short, and the reason why I believe Mr. Shelton is requesting for this position to be hired in November is because we need that position to be delayed a month in order for us to capture $2,000 worth of savings. Because originally we were hiring these positions in October, that's when the sales tax kicks in. Okay, so we need to wait 1 month worth of savings will get us that extra $2,000.
Mr. Mayor, if I could also mention, when we voted last time on the bed tax, it was just 40%, which was going to cover this as a full-time, but now we doubled it from 2 to 4. So there was going to be more than enough coming in to supply the revenue for that position, right?
Yes. Mr. Grijalva, yes, that was the original thought, is to raise the bed tax, fund the tourism special out of that, but when the motion came in the tentative budget to not make it full-time, but keep the bed tax increase, those funds got reallocated towards other tourism needs, okay, other tourism budgets, so they got reallocated. So now, because those funds are reallocated, we can't just take those away. We needed to fund new money, $12,000 to be exact, in order to bring that position back. Okay?
Mr. Hughes?
I just have a legal question. Is being able to do this, to bring a motion back forward that essentially was defeated the last meeting, how does that work? And whether this falls underneath that?
It does. We looked into that according to the rules of conduct. Mr. Shelton would be one of the appropriate voting members to bring that back for reconsideration.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, we're going to move into roll call.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 3?
No.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Ward 1? No. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, motion carries. Item number 5, discussion decision on approval.
Mr. Mayor, just as a point of order, you have a main motion
I do.
pending the roll call.
Roll call, apologize.
Councilmember Morales?
Yes.
Councilmember Lindemann?
Yes.
Councilmember Hewitt?
No.
Councilmember Shelton?
Yes.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, motion carries.
Ms. Aguilar, as a point of order, would you vote on the original?
Yes, ma'am.
The original motion as amended,
Correct.
right?
Just as a point of order, Mayor Uribe, Councilmember Hewitt, the amendments had already been authorized as separate motions, and the vote taken just now was on the main motion, which was just to approve the resolution as presented. but now it includes the amendment.
Okay, then I have to change my vote to no.
Okay.
Very well, thank you.
Thank you. Item number 5, discussion decision on approval of resolution number 19-1350, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, directing the interim city manager to establish and implement a proactive plan for fiscal year 2019-2020 to help ensure city expenses do not exceed city's revenues, superseding any conflicting provisions of the city and providing for severability of components. Mrs. Watson?
Mayor and council, as we've discussed throughout the weeks that I've been here, nearly months now, because of what came forward in the budget, we'll need to, because of the charter, bring things back to you, which is before you tonight, about the different positions, to make sure we changed up job descriptions. One example I'd like to highlight is the marketing and tourism specialist communication person. We kept the same job description, but enhanced it with ability for them to be able to help in the communications, like a public information officer, as well as writing press releases and those kinds of things. And then we broadened some of the things that had been in there at the suggestion of Mr. Hewish, so that it represented all of our business community and not just a portion of it. So when you see things, that's one reason it came later to you. But we have an organizational structure that will include now a funded deputy city manager job that will have the economic development efforts of the city in that. And Mr. Hewish, to your question earlier and your point, I totally agree. And I'm hoping as we develop that person, as we hire them and develop that program, that we can focus more on some of the things relating to those who want to live and play here, including the federal employees. Those positions that were before you, I believe our HR director is going to present on that. Lucy, are you doing that right now or later? Okay, it'll be in the next meeting. So we looked at all the positions, and there were some that were no longer, and so those are going to be taken out of the pay plan as well, like the courts. We no longer have any positions that we hire for in the courts. So with that, I'll entertain any questions, Mayor, but it's kind of an overarching of all the discussions we've had at the last few meetings.
Thank you, Ms. Watson. I have a motion to approve, so we can open it up for discussion, please.
Mayor,
Ms. Lindeman?
I move that the mayor and council approve resolution number 19-1350.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lindeman, second by Councilmember Soto. Councilmembers, do you have any questions for Mrs. Watson?
Mayor, not a question, but just a comment. Last year when we had our first meeting, I brought up something around these lines where I was for the city not to exceed its how much money we brought in, so we don't spend more than what we have. And the first meeting that I had with Mrs. Watson, that's the first thing I brought up, and she was very encouraging for that. So I just want to thank her for taking that into consideration on moving on a plan like that.
And just so you know, it is a state law, we cannot spend more than what you approve, even if we bring in more dollars, and that will go into different reserve funds and other allocations, but we can't spend more than that.
Comments on this one? Mr. Hewish?
Based on what Mrs. Watson just said, then why do we have this in front of us? I apologize for being confused on this, because I understood that's how it works, and so why is this in front of us?
Mr. Mayor, Interim City Manager, may I respond to that?
Absolutely, Mr. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In some internal discussions, due to the difficult gymnastics we've had to do with this particular budget and the various adjustments that we've had to make, basically what this resolution does is in the resolution makes a finding that this is the administrative fiscal plan for moving forward in a fiscally responsible manner, moving forward, and it explains all the various adjustments and reorganizations that we're gonna be looking at in the various resolutions that are in the general and in the regular meeting. So it basically defines our budget as to why certain things were done, and it codifies as more or less working under a policy where you're going to be sustaining the finances of the city and while capitalizing on certain savings as a result of the reorganization. So I think that's why it's in the special meeting. It works together with the budget as an explanation for various fields there.
And if I could add, Mr. Hewish, for me this is a little unique too, and so I understand our charter has some provisions. There's more things than I'm been exposed to as far as what we bring back to council. So this was recommended that we bring this forward so that it captures everything that's required.
And also, if I can add just to Mr. Hewish's question, state law does not allow us to go over the budget. However, we technically could go above our revenues and expenditures. While still staying within budget. So, in other words, we could spend more than what we bring in, yet still be under budget. So what we're saying here is we're going to be fiscally responsible in staying within what we bring in.
Sorry, if I may ask really quick. So, I mean, once this passes now, I mean, when something else comes up during the year, we'll know that, hey, we can't go over the budget. So now if there's a position that's going to come up that we already agreed to, we have the money for it. There's no second guessing as to whether, how we're going to pay for it and so forth. The money is, we can't go spend more than what we have, basically.
Correct. You can reallocate through the year, but there's a ceiling at which we don't go above.
Mr. Hewish? Thank you. I still don't understand why that's needed. What you've all told me is what your jobs are. And we would expect that. And so I guess it's to make everybody feel good that we're going to do our jobs. Or I don't want to simplify it. But I'm hoping to understand a little bit better. Because when I read through it, I thought, well, that's what we do.
I just want to throw something out there. Did we actually have this resolution last year when we approved the budget? No. Now let me ask you a question. Last year we overspent in our spending, correct? How much did we overspend? We spent about $217,000, I think we were.
Around 100,000.
100,000.
I'm talking fiscal year 17, 18.
So to Mr. Hewish question, and I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, is this holding us accountable to making sure that we remain responsible and that we are actively keeping track with our spending?
I'll answer that for Mr. Mendoza. It's that plus some other legal requirements pursuant to charter that we need to comply with. If you care to go into executive session, I can share that information with you, but I don't want to do it in the open meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Any other comments?
Mr. Mendoza mentioned, you said technically we can, take out of the reserve, like you said, we can spend more than this would stop that, right?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Grijalva, yes, this is a policy saying that we are going to stick with this policy for us to not spend unless we take a council action, hey, we need to use reserves as an emergency, then we take it back to council.
Very good.
Is this a state requirement? Do all the cities have to do this also every year?
No.
Then why are we starting this? Okay. He said that makes sense.
And tries to, before we go into executive session, I can give you the legal ramifications as to why that needs to be done. But it wouldn't be appropriate in a public meeting.
Any other comments? Council? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilmember Morales?
No.
Councilmember Lindemann?
Yes.
Councilmember Hewish?
No.
Councilmember Shelton?
No.
Councilmember Soto?
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 6, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Morales, second by Councilmember Grijalva. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. We'll be back at 6 o'clock for the regular council meeting.